Students, in the previous video, we have seen what is a clause, what is a sentence, and what are the clause elements. I told you there are 5 clause elements. These 5 clause elements appear in combination with each other to form different types of sentences. The subject plus verb, these 2 clause elements are essential for the formation of a grammatical meaningful sentence. If there is no subject or there is no verb in a sentence, we cannot form a sentence in a grammatical way. We may just gather the words, but we cannot consider it as a sentence. I'll give you one example, okay? Can we consider this as a sentence? This is not a sentence. Even if I give a full stop here, this is not a sentence. Here, this is just a collection of different kinds of noun phrases. Rakesh, my brother, his wife, my house. All these can be subjects or objects. In isolation, these can be called noun phrases, but this is just a kind of grouping together of some words, and such grouping together of words cannot be called a sentence. Even if I say like this, if I choose many verbs and I try to consider them as the words gather, wander, walk, strike, went. So this is not a sentence. These words are separately, individually they are verbs, but collection of some words cannot be a sentence. Okay, in order to make a sentence, we need to have 2 basic elements together. I am repeating this again and again, but this will confirm your concept. Subject, any subject, Rakesh woke up. Rakesh woke up. This is a sentence, okay? Because in this sentence there is a subject and a verb, and this forms a meaningful grammatical structure. This, what I am saying, meaningful grammatical structure. A grammatical structure can be called only when there is this structure, subject plus verb. You may add something. Rakesh woke up at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock. Oh, this is an addition, okay? But these additions can be more and more, but minimum requirement to form a sentence is subject and verb. Now we will come to the main point of today's lecture. We have to discuss the 5 clause elements one by one, and we have to understand what are these 5 clause elements, okay? First clause element is subject. What is a subject? We have learned what is a subject in our 8th, 9th, 10th and even at the 11th and 12th standard. But this is considered here as a clause element. We earlier called it as a noun. Okay, we called it as a proper noun or some other noun. But in a sentence, a subject is that thing which in coordination with the verb functions or defines or gives some particular meaning. What is stated here? The subject of a clause identifies a significant participant. Identifies a significant participant. A significant participant. Participant in the event described by the verb. The verb describes some event. Okay. Again, I'll take the same example. Rakesh woke up. Now this is a sentence. In this sentence, Rakesh is the subject and woke up is the verb. Now this subject Rakesh participates in the event, in the action described by this verb. Okay, in the action described by this verb. This action of waking up, this is the action of waking up, and Rakesh has participated, the subject has participated in this action of waking up. The action of waking up is in particular with Rakesh, is in particular with some subject. So here the subject, what it says, the subject of a clause identifies a significant participant in the event described by the verb. In this context, the event described by the verb is waking up or the action of waking up. And in this action of waking up, who is the participant? Rakesh is the participant. So Rakesh is the subject here. And his action is described by this verb waking up. What it says next? Depending on the verb means this Rakesh subject depends on the verb. Depending on the verb, the subject identifies who does something or has a certain property or is in a particular state. That means this action is done by Rakesh. And in this context, there is a very fixed relation between this subject and the verb. There is a fixed relation between the subject and the verb. The action of waking up is done by Rakesh. Now, going further, what he says here, the subject identifies who does something. Number one, the subject identifies who does something or who has a certain property. Who has a certain property means, for example, gold shines. This is the property of gold. This is the property. The shining is the property of the gold. This is the subject and this is the verb here. The action is denoted by the verb. And who shines? Gold shines. Or what shines? Gold shines. It has a certain property or is in a particular state. Is in a particular state. Is in a particular state means, for example, Rakesh is asleep. This is the state of Rakesh. He is sleeping. So the verb describes the action. The verb describes the action or the property or the particular state of something. That something is subject. So there is a close relation between subject and verb. We further will understand what is this relationship. What is this relationship? There is a phrase called agreement between verb and subject and verb. There is a very close relation. There is means they are interdependent. They are interdependent. What kind of verb is there in the sentence? That kind of subject should be there. That is an agreement between, that is called an agreement between subject and verb. That's not to be discussed here. That's not the part of discussion of this present topic. Okay. We have understood one thing here. Subject of a clause identifies a significant participant, the main participant. Okay. Who is the main participant? In the main participant, there might be other nouns in the sentence, but those nouns may not be the significant or main participant in the sentence. And this participation of the verb is described by, this participation of the subject is described by verb. This is described by verb. And depending on the verb, the subject identifies who does something. This word here is important. Who does something, or who is in a particular state, or who has a certain property. This has a relation of the action, that action of the verb with some kind of noun. With some kind of noun. The verb denotes action. Verb denotes action, whereas subject denotes doer. Subject denotes doer, or the, instead of calling doer here, because sometimes in passive voice he is just a passive person. That's why we can't call him a doer all the time. We can say a participant. Who is the participant in this action? Now we have understood that there is a subject plus a verb plus something and something structure is required to form a clause and ultimately a sentence. Sometimes there is a difficulty to understand what is the subject of a sentence. In that case, we have to ask one question, basic question, and that if that whatever answer to that basic question will be there, that is the subject of the sentence. What I told you earlier, verb is the action. Verb indicates action, and subject. Who is the subject? Participant. Participant. Basically, if we ask the question, who is the participant in this action? Who is the participant in this action? We will get the answer, and the answer is subject. In the previously seen sentence, women gathered in the street. In the street. This is the this is the verb here. In this action of gathering, who has participated? If we ask this question, who has participated in gathering? We will get the answer, women. If we ask where, in the street, this is not expected for a sentence. Who is expected for a sentence to identify the subject of that particular verb. Who has gathered, or who gathered somewhere, women gathered, and this will be the subject of that particular sentence. The first clause above is about someone gathering somewhere. To find out the subject, put forth the question, who gathered somewhere. When we ask who gathered, we'll get the answer women. Women gathered, and this is our subject of the sentence. This is the subject of the sentence. In the last sentence, what was the last sentence? Water has higher density. Water has higher density. In this sentence, who has higher density? Water has higher density. The participant can be identified with by asking the question who, and that participant is the subject of that sentence. So it is quite simple to understand. The first clause element, sentence element is subject, and it is quite easy to identify the sentence of a subject of a sentence. Now, what is given further? Notice that the subject can consist of multiple words, as in the second example. Multiple words. In the first example, women gathered. There is only one word, women. But in the second example, all the women. All the women gathered. This is the whole subject there. So, it's very important to differentiate between this thing. I will simplify it further. Suppose there is a word, any word, woman. Okay, this is a noun. Without means this is irrespective of any sentence. This is called a noun. Okay. Man. This is a noun. Walk. This is a verb. This is a verb. Now these are nouns, verbs. These are not included in any sentence. But when they are included in the sentence, they take the position. Some position is taken. Either of these five, means one of these fives. Yes, V, O, C, A. One of these five position is occupied by the words, and they come in combination. Not always there are single words. Not always there are single words. There are multiple words. For example, all the women. This is a phrase now. This is not a single word. This is a phrase. It has three words. If there is a one word, this will be called as a noun because it has a noun property. And all the women, this is a phrase. Phrase means a combination of words. Now here there are three words, and these two, all and the, they are attached to women. That's why this is called a noun phrase. Now, if they come in the position before the verb, all the women gathered, they come in the position of a participant of the verb. That's why they are called not noun phrase, but as they are used, these words are used in a sentence as the participant of the verb. They are called, these words are called subject. This combination of the word, this grouping of the word is called as subject. There might be many more words in the subject. There might be many more words in the subject. Means a subject can be formed of many words. Many words such as river, river flows. Okay, this is a sentence, and in this sentence, this is the noun, this is the verb. River behind our village flows. Let's take one more example. The Ganga river is or flows in India. So in these sentences, in the first sentence, river is the subject. In the second sentence, river behind our village is the subject. And in the third sentence, the Ganga river. In these three sentences, these three subjects, they have different number of words. In the first sentence, the subject river consists of, the subject consists of one word. Whereas in the second sentence, river behind our village, this is the subject and it consists of 4 words. And in the third sentence, the Ganga river, it consists of, this subject consists of 3 words. So as stated here, the subject can consist of multiple words. There is no limitation for the words in a subject. Okay, so this is what we have understood today. Now let's, for a few seconds, we'll revise what we have learned today. Out of the 5 clause elements, we have learned the first element, that is the subject, in today's lecture. And subject can be identified by asking the question who to the verb. Okay, so we will understand, we will come to know what is the subject by asking the question who to the verb. And we have also come to know that there are multiple words are used in a subject. So this is the learning that we have done today. Okay, we'll see in the next lecture.